Back at it again with Tonight News. I'm your host, Dan Daniel, and tonight we're going to be talking about science. I didn't have an infographic today, so we have the equations confused woman meme for your background to entertain you while I ramble on. So we're going to be talking about kind of three things. We're going to be talking about science, research, media, and kind of how those three come together in a very specific sense involving you. So what happens is me, you, probably everyone you know, don't have time or the understanding to go through medical, engineering, or other professional journals that get published because they're expensive and they're hard to read. They are not written in layman's terms for the most part. They're written for professionals in the field. And we don't understand them. So when breakthroughs happen, we rely on the media to tell us what's happening, what's interesting, what's new, and what tends to happen is articles like this. I'll put the article up that I'm talking about right now, but it's one by CNN where it's talking about sleeping and with artificial light on and weight gain. So what happened is there was this research that was recently published in the National Institute of Health journal where they found some associations in statistics where sleeping with lights on in a survey of, I think, 43 or so thousand people, that they found some corresponding statistics to having lights on, artificial lights on, and weight gain. But there's a lot of speculation in the review article from the National Institute of Health of even the people that wrote it, whether this was what was specifically could be interpreted from this data. But CNN and a bunch of different news outlets just hopped on it and said, ooh, look at this, and that's the problem with us relying on them. And this is the kind of the problem that's developed. They're trying to find articles, maybe they're good science, maybe they're not good science, regardless of how definitive the science they're looking at is. Not that this study was done very well. The science behind it is well calculated, but the interpretation is not definitive. So they're finding these articles, CNN, Fox News, all of these other places, they're finding them, they're grabbing them, and they're putting them in a way that makes it interesting to you and relate to you when it may not be as relatable as the research actually is. So there was the study was published, and almost immediately a bunch of news outlets, including CNN, and I'll read some titles from you for you to see if you can notice any trends here. Sleeping with the lights on tied to weight gain in new study, CNN, the one I popped up earlier. Sleeping with lights on tied to weight gain, New York Times. Sleeping with the TV on may lead to weight gain, study suggests. Sleeping in front of the TV could make women gain weight. Now, there's a couple of these that are related to other studies, but all of these were published within a day ago. So they're not related to the other one because there was another study a couple years ago, I believe in 2015, that was related to the more TV you watch, the more susceptible you are to obesity, which is because commercials make you hungry, you eat more. But these were all published within a day ago, which means that they were related exactly to the study that was published on Monday, and they all hopped on it. It was published on Monday, and most of these articles were published yesterday or today. So they all hopped on the bandwagon and said, ooh, we're going to spin this, and we're going to make it interesting. And you read about the articles, and they only go on one side of it. They only say about, wow, look at this stuff that says it definitely could be happening. But they don't look at the head researcher themselves questioning whether they had enough variables or factors in the survey to even make any interpretation on what all of these articles are claiming. So while they're not explicitly saying this definitely is linked, they're definitely misleading a lot of us just in the interest of getting more views to outcompete other news outlets. And I think that all of these news outlets can do a better job of finding their information and portraying it in a more kind of fair way while still being interesting. A lot of these aired on the side of it's probably happening, sleep with the lights off. So it seems more prevalent and it seems more real rather than the National Institute of Health analysis, which the scientist says that the scientists wondered if they even got enough rest factors in the findings. And quote by Dale Sandler, PhD holding Dale Sandler, who ran the study, although poor sleep itself was associated with obesity and weight gain, it did not explain the associations between exposure and to artificial light while sleeping and weight. So maybe those articles should have been talking about poor sleep, because that's from the research. It seems that's a lot more related, but having the light on seems more outlandish and interesting. So I think we should all take at least these articles and these things that you read, these kind of pop-up study says articles, with a grain of sand. They might not be as influential or as real as you may be thinking, and definitely look up, if you have the time, what research they're actually pulling from, if it even exists. That's happened before. They've pulled stuff from articles that were not published in legitimate journals. So that was our topic for tonight. I hope you found it interesting. Let me know in the comments. That was your Nightly News with Dan Daniel.